well-oiled machine at this point. Yes, Queen. Yes. Oh, we've worked so hard. We've worked so hard.
It only took 5 years.
I mean, we also got Zoom bombed. That kind of like disrupted us for a couple of years as well. Um, but yeah, it takes a lot of work to support me when I don't tend to stay on script. So there you go. I'm like, there's a wide open field here, and I can go dance and play all over the place. And then everyone's chasing after me, like, Rod, what are you doing?
It's not that hard.
You're supposed to be over here. Why are you over there? It's like, God told me to go over here.
The plant ancestors
It's
gave
a,
me clear instructions.
it's a dangerous space. But no, thank you all, always to Karen, to Eric, to all our practice leaders who are holding the space, and thank you to all of you as well for being here, for trusting me, trusting the space, trusting the team, but really mostly trusting Medicine Buddha as well. This is profound work that we're doing. This is a profound time. This is, of course, a sacred month for many of us, for our practicing Muslims, in our community as well. This time of deep reflection, of remembrance, right, of honoring, um, what God is telling us. So this is, yeah, this is, again, just really important for us to be here. But before I get into all of this, I'm trying to, before I get off on these tangents, really make an effort to acknowledge the land, to acknowledge the ancestors as well, not as an afterthought, but as a before thought, right? But again, just offering deep gratitude to the lands that are holding me, to the traditional lands, ancestral lands of the Creek, Muskogee, and Cherokee people, to the elders, to the communities and caretakers who are still very present on this land, to the spirits, the guardians, who offer me permission to live and to teach on this land. I offer deep gratitude to my ancestors who are also a part of this land, whose bodies are buried on these lands, right? Whose work, whose dreaming made it possible for me to be here with you, right? Not necessarily as like a Christian minister, but as a Buddhist teacher, right? And this was their dream, right? Their dream was for me to choose, to have agency, to choose how to be free, right? And I think ultimately, of course, that is what love is. When we talk about love, I know it feels like everything's on fire in my space, but like all the incense is just drifting up into the camera. But yeah, as I was just saying, it is what love is wanting people to be free, and we have to be careful about policing how we choose to get free, or what that freedom really looks like, right? And so when your ancestors love you, they're just like, you know what, we don't understand what you're doing, but it looks like it's good for you. So we're there for that, right? So deep gratitude, as well, to all the spirits, to all the guardians and everyone, to the elements as well, to the sacred waters. And my ancestors greet your ancestors as we come into the sacred space of learning and practice and deep contemplation, as well. We are coming together to experience freedom through the profound path of Medicine Buddha, but Medicine Buddha being a representation of all the Buddhas being the expression of emptiness itself, right? The expression of space, the expression of energy, right? That all the Buddhas point us back to our true natures, right? And so we're gathered here to practice the embodiment of our true natures, but we're also practicing the remembrance of what we are. So we're practicing remembrance. As we remember, we are healing together. Right? I think one of the things that I always feel like I need to clarify, in my teaching and in my practice, particularly as many of you are finding me through different avenues, right? Is that, when I talk about freedom, I'm not just talking about relative freedom. I'm not just talking about political, social freedom. I'm talking about ultimate freedom together. So when I say freedom, I mean freedom across the board, right? And ultimate freedom, right? This remembrance of what we are, ultimately what we are. We're not necessarily Buddhas. We're states of being, like we're a state, not a thing, right? Or not a person. We transcend these limiting, kind of characterizations, but we are trying to expand back into the state, this very fluid, open, um, ephemeral, powerful state, right? And of course, I don't think powerful is, necessarily the best word here, but like we're trying to let go of what we think we are and who we think we are and expand into what we are, you know, right? And so when I talk about freedom, I'm talking about both of these relative and ultimate expressions of freedom together, right? And I think that can be confusing, you know. As I often say, right, it's like I'm trying to get free, right? And sometimes freedom will happen before justice happens. Sometimes you will wake up, you will remember before, equity, before justice, before, these experiences on the relative level happen, right? It's about being careful about all the ways in which samsara, as an expression of carcerality, is trying to kind of like distract us and get us wrapped up in trying to figure it out, right? Because samsara, right, isn't for us to figure out, right? It's for us to transcend, right? It's for us to awaken within the workings of this carcerality and then to divest from the mental and spiritual ways in which we invest in the violence of samsara, right? Of course, the violence of samsara is really rooted in the lack of clarity, which we've often called ignorance, which we've often called delusion, right? But it's just the opposite of clarity. It's like I'm not clear, and therefore I am investing in ways of being and thinking that actually perpetuate these cycles of violence against myself, against others, right? And that keeps the cycle, the wheel of samsara spinning. Right. And at some point, you have to start lifting out of this. You have to start lifting out of the trauma. You have to start getting clear about what's actually going on. You have to start believing and developing a deep faith in what you are. Right. You have to believe that when you look at this picture of Medicine Buddha, when you see an image of Tara as you see behind me, you have to understand that that's a reflection of you. You're looking in the mirror. Right. That's not to say that like you're like this green woman sitting on the lotus or this blue guy sitting on the lotus seed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying because their manifestations in themselves are just illusions, right? Right? It's not saying that like, oh, I am this blue guy on the lotus. What I'm saying is that when you look at these deities, you have to first remember that these deities are just expressions of something more profound, more grander, also something just very simple, which is emptiness. But emptiness isn't this kind of harsh, sharp, nihilistic thing. Emptiness is actually the real experience of complete unlimitedness, boundlessness. It is the state beyond the limitation of self or ego, which is already overwhelming because all we think we know is the ego, are the boundaries of the self-contained self, which is in Buddhism, of course, the self is just a bundle of perceptions and thoughts and feelings and colors and smoke and mirrors, right? There's no there, right? Which is what sets Buddhism, apart a little bit because we're saying that there's no there, you know. But if we had to say something was there, we would say, oh, emptiness, energy, right? Consciousness, right? Energy that knows, right? You can say that's there, right? But to go further and to try to like pull that together into some other kind of identification is actually to betray the truth of what enlightenment is, right? Some of us can't handle like the potential and the reality and the truth of what we are, so we shrink because that takes less responsibility to deal with, right? Right. And then we in the carcerality of this, like we force others, we project our own insecurities onto others, forcing them to shrink. We police others because we ourselves are policed. And we police ourselves and we submit to being policed because like we actually don't know how to handle, our true natures, right? And the problem is we're trying to handle it instead of allowing it to be. Like I'm not trying to manage like my awakened nature. I am just trying to like open. There's nothing to manage, right? But if we stay really aligned with this sense of ego, this really self-contained sense of self, then there's always going to be this management, there's always going to be fear, there's always going to be this policing, right? And we don't want to let go of that self-contained sense of self, right? Because we find the self, we find the ego really comfortable, even though that experience is nothing but suffering, right? And we may not think it's suffering only because we've normalized suffering. We say, well, this is how it is, right? This discomfort, that we don't even know how to name anymore because this is all we think we know, right? But to start divesting from making suffering normal and saying, you know what, I do not deserve this. Why I don't deserve this because none of us deserve this. We're awakened beings. Like we are expressions of bliss, right? Why are we suffering? And why are we consenting to the suffering? Right? We're suffering because we forgot. Like we got distracted, right? And here we go. Like here we are, right? And so Buddhism is, as embodied by our historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, but that has been embodied by many Buddhas in the past because, Shakyamuni Buddha is not the only Buddha to emerge in a world system. But our historical Buddha came and said, okay, like this is my take on spiritual liberation. You can take it or leave it, right? Because quite honestly, there are many. We're in a very fortunate world system to have many options, right, to ultimate liberation. Buddhism is just one of them. Buddhism only exists in the relative. Buddhism is not an ultimate expression, nor is Christianity, nor is Islam. Like, it's across the board. Like, these are things that we create to make sense of what seems too expansive to hold, to relate to, right? Therein also lies the problem. Like, it is our struggle to make sense of something that actually transcends the limitation of our rational or conceptual minds, right? And we keep creating these things, these ideas, these dogmas, these beliefs, which in fact become further layers that entrap us into this very experience of carcerality, so you can call that religion, maybe, right? But the point is to keep transcending even like ideas, even dogmas that themselves are even liberatory. Like, you have to transcend even the idea of liberation to get free, because at that point, when we get to the end, when we get to the very end, you know, of this awakening process, of this remembering process, in order to really return back into full remembrance, to restore our memory completely, we have to let go of even the idea of liberation. Like, everything has to be let go of. Like, everything that we've clinged to get awakened, to remember in this body, in this life, everything has to be left in the relative in order for us to ascend into the ultimate, right? You can't take the relative into the ultimate. That's not how any of that works, right? Every tool, every relative tool that I've used to get to the end has to be put to the side, right? You have to say thank you. Thank you to the Buddhas. Thank you to the Bodhisattvas. Thank you to these dharmas, to these spiritual teachings that have gotten me this far. And now I have to let go of you, because now you are keeping me from actually expanding into what I am, to remembering, right? Because if I don't let those things go, then I will continue to cling to them, thinking that that's the point, right? Right. Liberation in itself, like, it is the state, right? Not the thought about the state. That's the goal. Like, you have to let go of the, thinking about the thing and become the thing, right? And I think that's terrifying for a lot of us, to become, because that's really what this is all about. You have to become, right? You have to stop thinking about it and become. If you're talking about freedom, great, but when are you going to be free, right? When is that going to happen, right? And again, like, as I have often said in the past, you can get free in an unfree world, right? Because the world isn't really an obstacle. The world is not an obstacle. It's how I feel about the world. That's the obstacle, right? Because in Buddhism, it's not the thing that's the problem, it's my relationship to the thing. If I think the world is in the way, then the world will be in the way, right? Because we drive this through conceptual thought, right? And so, like, if I think this wall is real in front of me, then it will be real and it will keep me from getting to the other side of it, right? But we have to change our relationship to the thing itself. I'm not trying to get rid of anything. I'm trying to change my mind about the thing, right? I change my mind, I change reality. But the changing of the mind is just a redistribution or a reinvestment in leaning into the emptiness instead of leaning into the realness of everything. Like, do you get that? You know? There's no spoon, right? Don't start, Sharon, right? There's no spoon, nor is there any bending. Like, who's doing the bending? Nothing's bending. Like, there was no spoon to begin with. There was no such thing as bending around anything. Of course, it took me 20 years to figure that movie out. But, you know, like, we look at the world right now in this moment, of real systemic collapse, which is, yeah, it's collapsing, but it's collapsing back to something that's actually much more liberating. It's returning us back to something else that we've gotten very, very far away from. systems and institutions have taken us very far away from our experience of indigeneity. Indigeneity meaning like deep connection, real connection, rootedness to the earth, being of the land, being of the natural world, right? Remembrance of what we are. Like that's the indigeneity that this moment of systemic collapse is returning us back to, right? But in this moment, like you have to see and have some inkling that this is just an illusion, this is a dream, right? Even though it feels real, it is can be real relatively, but also an illusion ultimately, right? And so we move through this time, and yeah, and it's real concern, it's real fear for ourselves, it's real fear and concern for our communities, for our beloveds, for our loved ones across the board, absolutely, But this is the task, right? No matter how intense the suffering is still an illusion, right? And you have to come into a balance where we're holding the realness of everything with the illusion of everything, which again is the expression of the Heart Sutra. And the Heart Sutra drives all of Dharma, right? It is and it ain't. How do you move through the world? How do you move through real grief? How do you move through real trauma? How do you move through all of that and take it seriously? And at the same time, understand that all of this is just the arising of emptiness, energy, and space, right? Because we're not trying to bypass one for the other, right? We're not trying to get stuck in the materialism of this because that's a dead end. That's real suffering, right? Nor are you trying to bypass everything into this nihilism, right? Because that's also suffering, right? These extremes for us in the relative have to be brought together into the middle way, into the middle. Of course, Buddhism is the middle way, right? As exemplified by this Heart Sutra, we have to come into the middle, right? And the middle is a place of intense nuance, right? And there is a precision here that we train in for many lifetimes to hold this, right? There is a subtleness, right? It's a nuance, it's a felt experience that transcends the conceptual mind. It's something that's felt. And when it's felt, it feels so deeply integrated into our bodies, into our minds, right? And it's so deeply integrated that you can't even name it anymore, but you move with it, you dance with it, you move through the world saying, oh, yeah, this is real. And at the same time, I have this feeling that there is something else happening, or something not happening, rather. That's what we're trying to get to. This is Buddhism. This is Dharma. This is the Dharma of the Buddha, of Shakyamuni Buddha, right? The middle way. Not to bypass, but to integrate these extremisms, right? Or extremism, bringing all of this together into this one experience where we're able to move through the world and say, yeah, I'm in the world, I'm in my body, I'm having these experiences, I'm suffering, but I'm also dropping it like it's hot, and I can do all of it. And at the same time, I know that I am more than this. I am beyond being more than this. Like we begin to understand that what we are transcends everything that we think we understand, right? And that these practices are pointing us there, right? But they're not taking us there, right? We're just saying that go in that direction. That's awakening. That's enlightenment. Just go there. Keep doing that, right? And it feels like you're going somewhere, but you're not going anywhere because there was never anywhere to go because we haven't gone anywhere. We were never anywhere to begin with. Like we are just here, right? We're here in a place and there's no here, but we're still here, right? Can you say that like I am here, but at the same time there's no here, right? I'm trying to walk the unmistaken path of Dharma, but I'm not walking, and nor is there a path anyway, right? Like, what does it mean to be here and just to say, just to, I don't know, like just to be here to feel the seat under us, right? To feel kind of like, I don't know, supported, to feel the foundation of the land under us, right? And to say, in this moment, in this experience, is awakening, right? I am already awakened. I am already experiencing emptiness. I just have forgotten what that was, right? Enlightenment is right here, right? But I'm so distracted now. I don't get it because enlightenment, this awakening, is so subtle, right? And I have to get really still, right? And this is what when we talk about levels of consciousness, the states of consciousness that we, would study, particularly in early Buddhist literature, right? We talk about these levels of consciousness, right? And I don't know how teachers are teaching about the levels of consciousness because I don't. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything negative because it's like I want to respect everyone. I've turned over a new leaf today, which will probably be turned right back tomorrow. But like, I'm not going to say anything negative. If you were at Harvard, I had a lot of stuff to say negative. Some of you joined me this weekend at Harvard when I was giving a talk. I had a lot of heat for everyone. But now I feel a little cooled down. I would simply just say, like, everyone talking about these levels of consciousness and levels of awakening, I don't know how they're doing that. They must be just reading out of the book, But we talk about these levels of consciousness. All it is just like deeper and deeper perceptions of awareness, right? Which are really rooted in stillness. Because nothing's really happening. But in our minds, we think it's happening, right? Nothing is happening, right? And our practice is really about inviting us into the stillness, you know, and that stillness, right, being within this illusion itself. And that's what we're trying to get back to is the stillness. It's the stillness beyond the fear, beyond the trauma, beyond the terror. It's the stillness beyond, I say beyond, but it's not beyond, right? It's the stillness that is within. It is the heart of the fear, the terror, right? It's the heart of the anger. It is the heart of desire, of craving, of clinging. It is at the heart, right? But we get so distracted with reactivity. We think because we feel it, we have to react, and that's what we're trying to disrupt, right? You only disrupt that by actually learning how to hold, how to be with, how to experience these energies, right? And as you're training to experience more and more of phenomena without reacting, without flinching, without running away, or without clinging, right? Like the more we're able just to hold the space, just to be the space, and to let these experiences rise and fall, come and go, take on these different shapes and masks, and do all kinds of drag, right? Just if you just let it keep doing that and you just hold your space, right? Just witnessing, just experiencing, right? This is what the Buddha was experiencing in his final, kind of periods of awakening. After I don't know, I think when he finally just let go and left all of these teachers and just kind of sat under the Bodhi tree, particularly after he started taking care of his body, once he started eating again, I think This is the states of awakening that he was moving through. It was like, let's get subtle, let's get clear, let's get still, right? And the deeper he got, the more he was moving through like Mara, right? Which is doubt and fear coming up. It's like, no, even the doubt and the fear has to be held and tended to, right? Even in this moment of real danger, for many of us, this is still the practice. The practice doesn't change in good times, nor does it change in bad times. The practice is what it is, right? In the face of imminent death, in the face of imminent violence, this is still the practice, right? Even as we are transitioning, right, from the material world, right, into the spirit world or the bardo, like this is the practice. This is the ultimate death practice, is the stillness, right? How can I shift from one experience to another, which is all death is. It's just a shifting, right? It is a changing of a thoughts, right? It is the shifting of a breeze, right? Just the stillness that takes us into another different expression of what we are, right? And even in the spirit world, as consciousness, as energy bodies, right? The practice is still the same. The practice will always be the practice until we remember, right? And then once you remember what you are, you're like, how, you'll say, how the fuck did I get there? You know, it's like the times where you've been zoning out. You know, you zone out for like 5, 10, 15 minutes. I tend to notice this sometimes when I'm driving. Like I'll get somewhere, I'll be driving for an hour, and then I'll be like, wait, how did I get here? Like, I don't remember this. I was like, this feels dangerous, you know? Like, how did I just zone out for an hour, you know, driving a car? You know? Or when I'm on the phone in the car, that's the worst. You know, like how am I on the phone driving a car and not dead in an accident, right? But then you wake up and you're like, whoa, what was that? How did that happen? That's what awakening and remembering will be like. You know, it will be like, oh, wait, what was that? And then all these countless, overwhelming, intense lifetimes will just dissipate in a second, you know? Because it seems like forever trying to remember, but once you remember, all that disappears because you were distracted, you know? When you're distracted and you wake up, you don't remember what you were distracted by. You don't remember everything that happened. That's the same thing that will happen when we awaken, right? It's just like, oh, what was that? What were, you know, I guess I've done this countless times, but it just feels like a second, right? And then all the resentment will dissipate, right? Because it's easy. That's part of the like the fear that we have is the resentments. You know, because once we get free, we feel maybe some of us feel that we'll resent everything that's happened. Like you won't resent it because it won't be an issue. Like you're gonna try to resent a second, you know, of being distracted, even though being in that second felt like forever. Right? You know, it's just, yeah, it stops being of importance. Because once you get free, you're not standing there going and looking back at that place of incarceration going, oh my God, you know, you're not sitting there. You're like, let me get the hell out of here. Like I'm done, right? I've done it, it's finished. Time for me to go and enjoy this liberation, right? But then like if you're a good person, if you're a good being, you'll come back. You know, you'll come back and help, right? But you don't have to. You know, you don't have to. Lots of beings don't help, you know. I have a practice where I kind of put some pressure on beings to get involved. which is just a prayer. It sounds like a threat. Maybe it is kind of a threat, but like I'm not in a position to threaten any being, right? But like part of my prayer is that like if you're not involved, please get involved. There are ancient beings, ancient spirits on our lands all over this planet who just aren't involved. There are beings who hate humans, who are quite powerful, who can actually be of a lot of help, but they just like, we're not fucking with humans, and I'm part of like a community of people, different traditions who are, we try to get those beings involved. We try to like reconcile, like we're asking, please get involved right now, please help. I know that humans, have created a lot of harm, but can you come back to us? Because we really need you right now. I would suggest adding that prayer, into your practice. Like if you're not involved, please get involved. Please help, you know. And this is why we make offerings, this is why we do, some of the ceremonies that we do, because it's a way to reconcile the harm, that our ancestors did, right? The harm that we were complicit in past lives. I've had to do a lot of that, you know. Um, but it's really, we need everyone. We need all the beings on board right now, right? To be of help. So I don't know, like I wasn't planning to say any of that as per usual, but I just felt like I needed to clarify, because I think some of us are getting our traumas are taking over, and sometimes when your trauma takes over, you try to pour your bitterness into my cup, and I'm not accepting bitterness any longer. I said what I said, right? And there's no more of this kind of going back and forth because we're in crisis. Some of you think some of you. I'm not saying you. Like I'm just saying in general. Like some folks need to get real about shit. You know, like some of us don't know how to function in crisis, and when you're in crisis, you get focused. you know, like you're just like, okay, this shit needs to happen. We can have this kind of conversation once we get to the other side, because Harriet Tubman wasn't like stopping in the middle of the forest having sessions with folks. She was like, listen, we're going to run. And once we get to Philadelphia, or once we get to Canada, then we can have that conversation. Right? You can tell me how unsafe you felt when I was threatening you with this gun. Feel free we can have that conversation, right? Until we get out of this, let's focus, right? You know, this is why not all of us are ready to get free right now. Some of us are much more loyal to our trauma than we are to liberation. And that's okay. I think that's fine. Like, I'm not trying to judge that. I'm just saying that we're all at different places with this, you know? Like, I wasn't born woke. Like, it's taken work. I mean, not that I'm woke now, but like, it has taken decades of really intense practice to get the point. And it's taken the kindness and the real dedication of a lot of teachers and guides and elders who had a lot of patience with me when I was being real sassy, and, back talking and all that stuff that I used to do, you know. Like I blame it on youth, but, a lot of elders and teachers held me, when I was just like a monster, you know? And this is what I am offering back to others is the same patience. Like, 'cause I get it. I didn't understand the elders when I was young, right? But now as I enter into my eldership, now I get it. I understand it. And now it's time for me to start taking the place of my elders as they begin their transition back into the bardo and the spirit world, right? This is the cycle, right? We have to hold the intensity of youth and energy, and ideas. We have to hold that. As elders, you have to hold that, right? And to be an elder doesn't mean that you're old, right? Like, it doesn't mean that you survived. An elder is someone who recognizes their position in our communities and who is actually willingly and intentionally holding space for generations coming up, who are intentionally sharing that wisdom, that insight with the others coming up, you know? And some of us are becoming elders sooner than we realize, right? And that's part of it. You said yes. At some point, you said yes to this. And to trust that. If you're being invited into something, you have to understand that you said yes, right? To consent to it, right? This is the cycle. This is what we're trying to reestablish in this moment of breaking down, of systemic collapse. We have to get back to the natural cycles of being human and being in community and being with the natural world. Like, we've transcended the reality of cycles, right? And we think that we can dominate and control the cycles, when in fact the cycles are these natural currences, of the phenomenal world. And if we learn how to roll with it, we enter into this really beautiful, authentic, simple expression of what we are that's not so complicated, right? That's not so manufactured, right? Like, the simplicity, even in this time of intense everything, like, we have to return back to this way of being, right? And we have to mourn all those around us who weren't ready for this, right? And this is when you begin to make your vows that I know that, like, I can't help you now, but I promise to return. I promise to catch you when I have reached the goal, you know, like, I promise to return. That's something that's important for us to really take seriously as the Bodhisattva vow, or as the New Saints vow, however you think about it, right? It's like, I promise to return. I know I have to say goodbye. Like, I know I have to leave, but I have to go and bring about this new world. I have to go and become what I need to become, because the ultimate way to be of benefit is to get free, right? I have to get free, and when I get free, I will have what I need to return, and you will, right? And I want us to work with that heartbreak. I want us to work with that disappointment, of having to say goodbye. Like, thank you for everything, and I have to say goodbye for now, but I will come back. I don't have everything that I need. I don't have the resources to do this now, right? Because if I try to do this, then I'm going to get dragged back into this, and none of us are going to be able to get free for a long time, right? This is the hard part of the work. This is the hard part of my work, is to be in the world and to have this level of insight and clarity, and to hold my own brokenheartedness, But that's also supported and tended to by this deep felt experience of the illusion itself. It's like, okay, like, we're circling in something that's violent, but at the same time, it doesn't exist, you know? Like, so emptiness, once we practice with it in a really skillful way, it becomes this medicine that begins to take care of us as we move through the realness of the relative. It's not for us to bypass into it, but emptiness is holding us. It's giving us perspective right now, right? And you're gonna, and to hold the heartbreak of getting free, and at the same time having to, having to get free while at the same, well, let me see, rephrase it, experiencing awakening, at the same time realizing that this experience of samsara, the carceral state, just keeps spinning. You know, that's another kind of heartbreak. But you have to get free, because without that remembrance, without that awakening, you'll never have all the tools that you need. Right. And again, there is no being that exists that can completely disrupt samsara. That is not possible, because samsara is very much a personal experience. You know, it's personal and collective, right? So samsara is something that, yes, we rely on others like the bodhisattvas, the Buddhas. We rely on awakened beings, I mean, whatever. We rely on beings who know to help us, but we have to do our individual work, you know? Like, we have to consent to liberation work for ourselves and join that with collective liberation work. So we start lifting ourselves up together, but you can't lift someone up who's not consenting to freedom, right? You may think you're doing that, right? But at some point you're going to have to show some receipts, right? Like, because again, this is a very personal thing that I have to reconcile for myself. And being inspired by others who are doing it, who have done it, right? But I have to reconcile this for myself, you know. So let's transition a little bit into just a little bit of practice, just like practice light. But beginning with just reflection, you know, just taking like 2 minutes. Let's take 2 minutes and just reflect. Like, what's landing for you? What are you wrestling with? What are you struggling with? Right? Where are you feeling this teaching? Where are you feeling it at? Um, and as you're feeling into this, call in the earth, call in the land to hold you, call in your benefactors. Because yes, we have to consent to liberation individually, but we don't have to do it alone. Feel the support of all your guides and mentors and elders and the elements, you know, of the ancestors. Getting to this place where you're feeling how the universe is cheering you on. Like the universe, whatever the universe is, right? The universe wants you to be free. And this is also, as we are beginning to study and seek in Blessed Slay, like the practice of Mahamudra. Mahamudra is simply understanding that the phenomenal world is always pointing you to liberation if you can just pay attention. The phenomenal world is showing you how to be free if you can just pay attention. It's another minute here. A couple more seconds. And so as we continue, I invite you in this moment just to let go. Let go of thinking about anything, particularly wrestling or with these ideas or just like trying to make things make sense. Let that go, right? Offer these thoughts, these concepts, all these struggles into the emptiness of your mind, right? And come back to this place of resting. When I say rest in this context, letting our awareness rather just float within what we call non-conceptual awareness. So just letting your awareness be, your knowingness, letting it hold everything, not focusing, not thinking necessarily, but just letting your awareness be. Yes, there are thoughts that will come and go, there are narratives that are present, right? So just let those be there. Because again, it's not the thing itself, it's our relationship to the thing. So a thought can be a thought. The thought can be there. The story can be there. And I can just hold space for it. I don't have to react. I don't have to engage. I can respond if I choose to respond. But right now, we're not even doing that. Matter of fact, our response is just holding. Our response is non reactivity. This is the space that we're trying to get to. And as you're sitting, as you're being, I'm just going to read through Sopa Rinpoche's heart advice prayer. Right? And he begins by saying, be not distracted. Be not distracted. Right? This is where we're practicing not being distracted. Be not distracted. Show up to this moment. Pay attention. And you can feel, absolutely feeling, experiencing, right? Is also a part of this work of holding space. We're not trying to like push anything away necessarily. Of course, if it feels overwhelming, then of course we respond by taking care of ourselves, by regulating ourselves. But for the most part, experiencing, feeling is okay. Because feeling is beyond thinking, it's beyond the conceptual mind. It's just this experience, is something that's felt, but not thought about. The Soka Rinpoche continues as he says, plant the watchman of mindfulness. Plant the watchman of mindfulness, or the watch person, or the guard. Plant the guard of mindfulness, of knowing, of awareness, right? We call mindfulness a guard because this is the awareness itself of what's arising, is how we're able to respond in a way that's liberatory, not necessarily in a way that increases suffering or delusion. And Rinpoche continues by saying, on the path of distraction, the thief of Mara lies in wait. Right? So on the path of distraction, doubt arises, fear arises. And again, Mara, our fear, our doubt is not the problem. It's our relationship to it. So let doubt be there. Let the fear be there. Let the grief be there. It's okay. Because the mind of attachment and aversion is Mara, regarded as illusion, free from all duality, right? So everything that arises is this expression of emptiness, of space, it's energy. It doesn't have to be a thing. It can just be an experience. And if we let it be an experience, then the space opens up, then the fluidity opens up. We're not so rigid, we're not so limited anymore. As Rinpoche continues, it says, once your own mind is known to be primordial purity, free from contrivance, there is no other Buddha. Right? So when we begin to experience this unlimited experience of the mind, this this emptiness, this space, that everything is just energy arising in space, right? Once we begin to experience that, we are meeting the Buddha. And that Buddha is simply the nature of our own minds. Because the Buddha was never a person, the Buddha was never a thing. Right? If you think the Buddha is a thing, you have to kill it. You have to sacrifice it. Because if you think it's a thing, it's in the way. The Buddha is just an experience. It is a state. You are that state. There is nothing in the way of you and this primordial state except for a thought. So when you're experiencing that emptiness, that space, then you are looking at your own face. This is your true face. Beyond the trauma, beyond the silliness, right? Beyond the distractions, the unlimited, boundless expanse. That is your true face. I mean, can you dig it? Right. I mean, I am serving a hot dish here. Are you eating it? This tea is hot. Are you sipping it? Can you get with it? There is nothing else to realize. There's nothing to figure out. So rest. Rest. Not go to sleep, right? We're not trying to go to sleep anymore. Sleep and rest are not the same thing. But rest. What does rest mean right now? In this moment, rest means that like I let go of always creating and just abide. Just be. Letting go of trying to fix everything, trying to modify everything, trying to clean everything up. Just let the shit be. Right? If the room is messy, let the room be messy. Let it go and just be. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to plan for. There's nothing to think about. Just be. Ms. Rinpoche continues saying that this is spontaneous non-meditation. This is it. I mean, can you dig this? This is it. Spontaneous non-meditation, because meditation doesn't exist either. So if you think you're meditating, if you think you have any notion of practice, it's my fault because I said we were practicing. But let's let that go. Let's push that to the side. We're not practicing. This is just spontaneous being. I'm just being. And just get clear, this isn't about things disappearing. Your shit is still there. The room is still messy, relatively, right? But you're just letting it be. You're not trying to clean it up, nor are you trying to make it worse. You're just like, this is it. Abiding, spontaneity. To notice and to allow it just to be. This is the Buddha's seat, which is your seat. So we'll just abide here. Just be here. So in this stage, I want you to maintain exactly where you are, right? And feeling the earth, the energy of the earth rising to hold you in this state. Feeling the wrapping of emptiness itself, even as the earth rises, feeling the emptiness and the energy of the earth. I'm going to begin to offer our prayers. And in this space, as I offer the prayers, as you hear the prayers being offered, just let them go. Even if it's our prayers, right? You hear them, you experience the energy, you experience the words, and then just let that energy return back to emptiness. Because in our praying, we are we're really doing this work to shape emptiness around healing, around liberation, instead of always shaping emptiness around these carceral and limiting and rigid experiences. These prayers are actually shaping emptiness around space, around balance. And so, in our prayers, as I begin to uplift these prayers, I am calling into emptiness itself, and emptiness being the roots, the heart of all the Buddhas, right? The nature of every being who is about returning back to emptiness and helping as many beings as possible remember what they are. I call to you that these prayers begin to call all of us back into balance, into healing, into liberation. We're offering prayers for the earth and for the wisdom to know how to tend to the earth for the highest good of all beings. Offering prayers for Lama Rod and Sangha, may we be able to continue the work with love and care. Prayers for E to be able to access a car to connect with their beloveds and extended community. Prayers for G to find the love and care they need to be tended to through a season of low mental health. Prayers for K to receive the care and resources needed to break free of harmful family cycles. Offering prayers for my mother to escape from the familial cycle of violence and be able to return to her ancestral home. Offering prayers for my brother to disrupt the cycle of violence within his own life and choose healing. Offering prayers for myself to get enjoyable and sustainable work and to be resourced enough to get my passport, to support myself and my community, and prayers for me to generate courage and clarity about the path I must take. Offering prayers to all those who need help letting go and mourning what was to transition to greater good. I humbly ask for prayer to help me finish my current life stage with grace and move with an open heart and mind to what is next. Offering prayers for Shannon and her family as they support one of their matriarchs in passage into the bardo from lung cancer. Offering prayers to all beings and creatures all over the world, prayers to Mother Earth. May our hearts continue to open fully, and may we reawaken to our divine presence. May peace and love prevail within and without. Offering prayers to my sister Phoebe, who enters the bardo about 40 days ago. May she finally know peace and liberation. Om Ahom. Prayers to the Creator to soften the rigidity that I'm clinging to so that I can better show up from a place of love and kindness. Offering prayers for Jonathan Stern as he starts his transition to dying. Offering prayers for Angela Lapierre, as she releases the trauma of being in a psychiatric hospital. Prayers for myself, may we transition this eclipse with grace and self-compassion. Offering prayers for Z, may they be supported and connected to the souls who need them as they create a space of radical dreamers to be free. Offering prayers for my dear friend Diane, who has been diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. Please let her make the most of her time here and enter the bardo in the embrace of love, compassion, wisdom, and freedom. Offering prayers to heal all the hate in the US and globally. Help these fascists and haters wake up to compassion and interconnectedness. Help them to resolve the collective karma in their lifetime peacefully so we can live in love, compassionate unity, freedom, and peace. Prayers to heal the trauma happening on a global scale because of fascism, climate violence, capitalism, and hegemonic supremacy. Medicine Buddha, please hold us in our hearts so we can imagine and actualize a better world. Prayers for navigating and healing my CPTSD and debt as I start a new chapter. Please help me trust the process of life again. Offering prayers for M to disrupt the distractions and do the work to get free. Offering prayers for Kelly, prayers for Nikki and her family, with what they're going through. Prayers for Chris, prayers for SP, prayers for gratitude for the hardships that are making me stronger. Prayers that I may be the very best mom I can be for myself and my daughter. Offering prayers for Teddy to be strong and healthy. Offering prayers for Roxy to be engaged and connected and joyful in her life. Offering prayers for B, T, J, S, and M. Offering prayers that I find a good, well-paying job and or a path forward in chaplaincy that I can sustain. Offering prayers for Cindy to be cancer-free and have a long life. Offering prayers of gratitude for all I have supporting me. Offering prayers of gratitude for my beloved daughter. Offering prayers for financial abundance for myself. Offering prayers for liberation for all suffering from anxiety and fear. Offering prayers for the well-being of all. Prayers for ease, quick rehab, and return home. Prayers that I may recognize my true nature and be of benefit to all. Offering prayers for my own protection from an abusive ex and a job that takes all of my care and attention and leaves me feeling burnt and depleted. May I heal so that I can find liberation and be of truer service to all beings. Offering prayers for E, who had an abnormal scan, and will need more imaging, that her health be completely restored and the cancer be fully eradicated and not return. Prayers that her spirit and body will be strong and well. Offering prayers for A, who is navigating a challenging family situation, that all misunderstandings and pain be completely resolved, and that all will find healing. Offering prayers for all those who are being unjustly arrested and deported. May they be safe and mayhem be free. Offering prayers for my own feelings of vulnerability, as I'm in an extremely dry climate with very high winds today, making the fire dangerously high. Prayers for all the others impacted by climate chaos, and prayers for those who are disabled or chronically ill who are navigating evacuations due to climate or housing insecurity. Offering prayers that I find and feel my confidence, resilience, and clarity during a time of so much fear, and of course that I feel my humor. Offering prayers for all gender expansive people that they may be safe, protected, and cherished. May all barriers to their complete liberation and thriving be swiftly removed. Offering prayers that I continue to heal and receive the support and financial abundance that I need for care for myself and my recovery. Offering prayers for peace within me and in and surrounding my home. Prayers that I'm not being gaslit by violent neighbors and that the meds work. Prayers that I can rest deeply to replenish my stores each night and express joy as resistance on the way to liberation each day. Prayers to continue to lift and uplift as I continue to be held by Ma. Prayers for all beings in all realms to be free and for the end to all forms of carcerality. Prayers for Lama Rod, Dharma keepers, and for the beloved community. May we continue the work and the work until no one is left behind. Prayers for support and protection over the next couple of months. Prayer for my own health as I recover from COVID. Prayers for people of Southwest Asia and suffering that is being inflicted upon them by my tax dollars. Prayers for H that he get the new job that they have been hoping for, that they may get the job that they've been hoping for. Prayers for Matthew, Annette, Kathleen, Nellie, Elder, commons and all incarcerated beings. Prayers for all beings. May we all be well and know peace. Prayers for gratitude for all those beloveds who have come around the H family. May the support and kindness and resources continue to pour out. Offering prayers for all who are hungry. May they have food. May we all work towards a world where we believe in the bounty of enough and are inspired to generosity and justice. Offering prayers for my beloved. May they be loved and cared for. May they be free. Offering prayers for freedom. Prayers that the universe continues to support me and increases support on this journey to provide what the world needs at this moment. Prayers for my heartbreak. Prayers for my brother-in-law, M, whose pay has been cut as his federal job and his union has been dissolved. May the family find a way to support each other through this financial uncertainty. Ashe. Prayers for all who are in prison or otherwise entangled in the carceral state for speaking out against genocide. Prayers for John Sewell, who entered the Bardo Friday morning and has started Karen Bearden and their family at this time. Prayers for my family, for my children and their children, especially my son Jamie, whose job is now at risk. Offering gratitude for Lenny Peltier's return home last month after 50 years in prison. Prayers for my health, mental and physical, as I heal and can be more available for the work with others in their healing. May we all be free and know the truth of our nature. I offer prayers for Ruby as she transitions into the Bardo. I offer prayers for Bev as she has transitioned into the Bardo. May the ancestors guide her and support her in her awakening into her ancestorhood. Continue to offer prayers for the liberation of all beings, prayers for the complete abolition of all systems of violence and harm. Continue to offer prayers that we remember as quickly as possible what we are. May we all remember as soon as possible. Just allowing all of these prayers finally to drift into emptiness, to trust that emptiness will begin to be shaped around what we most need for ourselves and for our beloveds. Letting everything go, returning back to holding space for everything, for being, resting. And as we rest, understanding that we can indeed consume the chaos by holding it, by offering everything space so that we can eventually respond in a way that is liberatory, not carceral. May we continue to consume the chaos instead of the chaos consuming us. May we remember that our minds, our awareness holds everything. We offer deep gratitude to Medicine Buddha, whose consciousness, being the same consciousness of all Buddhas, is holding us even now. Om and La Sangye Kino Soha, Medicine Buddha, please continue to hold us, to gaze upon us. Continue to reveal our true faces. When you're ready, begin to shift our attention back to the sensation of our bodies and the seat under us. As our awareness begins to pour itself into this experience of mindfulness and anchoring, we come back into this moment, into our spaces, into noticing and feeling other phenomena. we offer movement and breath back to our bodies, gently reawakening our bodies, distributing energies, and bringing everything back into balance. We come back to Shanti Deva's prayer in our chat box. We'll recite 3 times. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for all those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Okay, so thank you all so much for your practice. It's been wonderful.